Hey, this is Mark's watching MTC Media with your GW preview tonight. They play Stonehill. MTC Media will be covering the George Mason game live. You will see a preview for that game, obviously on the different video and a different recording. But for George Washington, they're coming off a surprisingly good season last year in Chris Caputo's first year. That's going to be hard to duplicate, especially when you consider, I believe this roster has about 11 new guys on it. It's quite a few new guys on this roster. So when you're playing a team like Stonehill, which is in its second year of Division One, it was Division Two. They made the transition last year. Not bad results. I believe they were 14-17, 10-6 in the NEC last year. So this is one of those games where you're kind of looking at what's going to happen with GW more than you're looking at a preview of how they'll fare against this opponent. I would suspect that George Washington would fare just fine. But my first thing I would be looking for tonight when I watch this game on tape, because I will watch a recording of this game, is how does James Bishop and Maximus Edwards play together? I believe that Maximus Edwards could end up being a dynamic player in the Atlantic 10, the Kansas State transfer. And you know, last year, being a freshman, he was very respectful of where his spots were in the offense, especially when you have a guy like Bishop, and then you had Brendan Adams on that team also. So this year, we should see Maximus Edwards unleashed a little bit more. I think a lot of GW fans and teams in the Big Ten, in the Atlantic 10, will see more of what he can bring. Obviously, Atlantic 10 coaches have a pretty good idea of what he can bring, but Edwards can bring more, but that's going to have to happen with cooperation from Bishop. So we'll see how he works together with Bishop. Next is the two freshmen that I would like to focus on, which is Darren Buchanan, who went to Jackson Reed over there in Washington, D.C., and Jacory Hutchinson, who went to IMG, but is originally from this area. He's originally from Laurel, Maryland. They are freshmen who can make immediate impacts for GW, and I'll be interested to see not only what their minutes counts are tonight, but how they're used in the offense and how aggressive and how comfortable they feel in the offense with this first game here in college. Both of those guys are eventually going to be good. I am really, really high on Hutchinson. I think he can be a really solid player in the Atlantic 10 with growth under Caputo. So, but their minutes counts will be interesting to see. I would suspect that they're in the rotation. If they're not, you know, that's a different conversation, but we'll see how they play and how they grade out on film. And last but not least, and I know I'm going to butcher the name, but Auburn transfer Babatunde Akingbola is a graduate transfer here at George Washington. I will be sure that I learn how to pronounce that name throughout the year. Why is that big? Because GW needs to have a contributing big to replace Hunter Dean, who transferred. In the Atlantic 10, especially how it is built this year, if you have a big that can make an impact, especially on the defensive end of the floor, it can carry you to some games in that last 4 minutes. And that would be great for GW. I don't know how much he's going to score. I don't know how much they need for him to score, considering some of the players on this team. But defensively, if he controls the boards and if he can be a legitimate Atlantic 10 college level rim protector and change shots, that will buy GW so much more offensive possessions, which is what this team needs. They want to play at a quicker pace, and that means that you can't have possessions for your opponents to be multiples in one possession. You can't have a guy where they can just get 2 feet in and not have to worry about whether there's going to be someone there to make you change your shot. And you certainly have to control the boards. And if he can do those things and kick it out, as much as this team is going to like to run, it just makes GW into a team that's younger, that's transitioning, yet if they can play in transition and secondary transition, it makes their offense better. It makes them shoot a higher percentage. And that's things that this team is going to need if they want to succeed. So that is my preview for tonight's GW game. See you guys courtside at George Mason tonight.